Hello everybody, today we're going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are on episode 36, and I can tell you this video is going to be, it's going to be a long one because something very, very major is going to happen. And, well, you probably already know because, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to say, yeah. So let's go ahead and start in Iberia. Remember, these guys, used to be, used to hate each other, but now, they are in alliance, and if we can take a look at that, they're in the Parallelogram Alliance, along with the Green Algerian country, the Norwegian country, we have the Southeast Asian Union, the Chinese team, the North Indian Federation, and this Tibet country, and of course it includes all of their colonies, but we're gonna go ahead and take a look at some major stuff because let's just take a look at the border. So, as you can see, this is a very interesting border. It doesn't really have anything like it doesn't have any quick like it doesn't have any uh hold on, let me give an example. It doesn't have crazy borders like this right here. It just kind of has it actually just looks like brush. I brushed through it, which I mean it did. It drew all these borders, but some of this was around when the provinces weren't around. That's why it looks a little weird. But I will say, something about these countries, not specifically in Iberia, will happen, but in their colonies, and that would be interesting. So if you remember, this colony used to be part of the Purple French country. That country no longer exists. It's now the Southern French country, and then I guess these two guys and the Dutch. But yeah, so remember, this part of Virginia, it used to be a part of both the or the purple country, and now split between the yellow or the blue and the red. And well, that's very interesting. And I will say, there's some militias fighting. The blue and the red militias are fighting in this area. It's actually not reported to the capital because they don't want to know that that's what's happening. But it is what's happening. So that's interesting to know. And we'll use that for later context. But the fascist, they have been preparing for a while. They have gotten a lot of members over the course of time. And, well, as you can see, they have a lot of members. And, yeah, so they have been preparing for this moment for a couple of episodes now. They banded up their military together. And, well, the Swedish are gonna make the first move. But what if I told you I lied? It's actually the Parallelogram Alliance who's invading. Now, Parallelogram Alliance, they are a monarchist slash democratic alliance. However, they don't want this fascist alliance to get powerful. They see that they are building up, and they don't want it to get too powerful. So the Norwegians will start their invasion of the Swedes, and well, it goes well for the first couple of months. However, eventually bad stuff happens. Winter starts to set in, and I don't know which country would be better with winter. Probably, probably the Swedes, because they used to own all this land over here, and also this. So probably the Swedes. But, yeah, so this is a very interesting front. And, I'm going to go ahead and take off military alliances. It's constantly moving back and forth. The Swedes are doing well over in this location, and in this location. However, in the center, they just aren't doing as well due to more logistical failures and resources, being, well, not supplied. But we do see the Circle Alliance and Asia receiving this information first, and well, they start their invasion of the North Indian Federation from this land right here, which is a very interesting thing. They take all of this land right here, and the red team is invading not only because, the Himalayas exist, but also because they're definitely way more focused on the yellow team right here. The yellow team is way weaker than the red team here, so that's just something to note. The Circle Alliance, they know that China is the worst threat here. Um, they would say the Iberians, but China is really the worst threat here. They are the biggest country in the world. They can take out China mostly easily, and they just help the Southeast Asians with defeating Australia and Sri Lanka. So the Circle Alliance is gonna go ahead and fund rebels in the Chinese territory, especially up north over here, where there used to be a blue team. Let's go ahead and take a look at those rebels. So the rebels do remain. They are kind of small quadrants around. They do own a major city right here. They're just small areas around these Chinese lands that are being supplied by the Circle Alliance. And well, they are doing kind of well. It depends on what you say as well. But eventually, a lot these do connect with other countries, and one of them actually connects up with another one, which is interesting. And well, the Chinese are actually really focused on these rebellions, as it's really a threat. The Chinese don't have too many major cities over here in this region, whereas over here they can deal with the rebellion a lot better. Over here they cannot. So the Australians start their invasion. First of all, they're gonna go ahead and invade some of these Indonesian isles right here. They take those two, and then they take Timor and a lot of these islands until the Southeast Asian Union finally responds when they meet Java, as this is a very populated island, and they will stop right there. Not before taking some of these other islands over here. Not that before they take other islands over here in Indonesia, looking something like that. Yeah. The Red Tibetans will go ahead and make their push in this region, as they heavily strike in the north regions to knock this area out, in which they fully do, as, yeah, they needed to knock this area out, because focusing on the southern area, which is the most populated area, would be best. They don't want to focus on any more rebellions in the north, so they're going to lock down that region, and also make some advances over here. However, the yellow team from here is going to form up a defensive line with the North Indian Federation against these red teams and this purple team. By the way, this purple team does get pushed back only here in the southern major city right here, though, as well as this major city. Yeah, only that. Yeah, I guess they also get pushed back there. But in the north, they actually have a really good offensive that is going on as it is getting larger and larger as it takes another major city, and it seems like it could trap a lot of these Indian soldiers right here in the Pakistan/Iranian region. The North Indian Federation is a very strong country, but you gotta remember the Sri Lankans. They're still here. They're not just gonna be waiting like that. They can strike at any moment, and the North Indian Federation will be too busy up here to focus on Sri Lanka. They can make a naval invasion, or they can make a naval invasion of a weak spot in the Southeast Asian Union, like right here, and cut off supply lines between the Indonesian part and the Southeast Asian part. Who knows? The pink Polish team is going to invade all of Denmark to help Sweden a lot more, in which they do. And Sweden helps, or they push back a little bit more. How the parallelograms do take a lot of land over here in this region. So yeah, it's just really back and forth between the Norwegians and the Swedes. However, the Swedes actually do make an advance over here in this region and try to cut off a lot of the Norwegian troops, and they're getting very close to doing such thing. Norway is a very resource, like, they need a lot of resources to win. They just don't have a population on their side. They need the resources. If they don't have the resources, then Norway would get folded by Sweden. Because I mean, Norway has a lot of resources, right? They do have a lot of it, but they don't have manpower. They don't have enough manpower. Sweden has more manpower than Norway, and it also has a good amount of resources. And of course, that's also coming from a bunch of fascist countries down over here in the Balkans. Also, I'm at right now as we're recording this, I have about 85 subscribers. Thank you guys for 85 subscribers. I probably will do a special during when I get 100 subscribers. I'm not entirely sure. But it'll be a fun time. I'll just say that. Coming down over here to Sicily, we're gonna go ahead and see that they do, in fact, go ahead and join up with the Circle Alliance. Now, if you remember, the Sicilians were basically made from the blue team. They were made from the blue team. The blue team is just cool. The blue team worth this guy, and technically this guy, and technically this guy, and I'm pretty sure this guy, and I'm technically that guy, and kind of that guy. Just depends. Also, I'm pretty sure they birthed that. The red team birthed the blue team, so yeah. I'm pretty sure it was the blue team that was the yellow team, and the blue team that was the brown team no longer exists. I don't know why I'm talking about all this, but all you need to know is that the Sicilians they want to reform their empire. They are not a fascist country. And in fact, they make a thing that they will leave the Circle Alliance after this big war ends. And the pink team is well, they seem like they're gonna start the invasion. None of these countries know because the pink team is really secretive. I mean, you can literally see some pink over here. You can see pink over here. You can't see any pink over here, surprisingly. But yeah, you could. That's yellow. You can see pink right here. You used to be able to see pink right here, but then I changed it because it looked horrible. You can see brown right here because of the brown team. That's more red, but sometimes the brown comes over to the red. Um, where can we see purple? Maybe purple over here. No, you can't see purple. Can we see red? We can see red from Morocco. Yeah, Morocco has a bunch of red over here. Uh, anyways, enough talking about those colors, even though we talk about colors all the time on this channel. But the pink team does start their invasion of Sardinia as they take that portion of land right there. However, they will stop as they see that the blue team's troops and their naval ships and all that type of stuff is coming. Because, I mean, economically, Sicily is one of the most economical, strong countries in the world. They just don't have the military. I've said this many times before. Sicily is, they just don't have the manpower. They don't have the military and they don't have the manpower. Their economy is really good though. They just don't have the population, which is not the same thing as manpower, but it's close. Back over here on the Indonesian front line, we see these guys kicking the Australians out of those islands right there. However, a fierce naval battle occurs right here in this piece of water right here, which allows the Australians to actually make a landing from the north, and one right here, which completely cuts off all these troops, and they're stranded, and they either drown to death or just die by soldiers, or just surrender to the Australian military. And from here, the Australians will be able to move into this island, and then this island. However, they will stop from there as they realize more and more troops are coming. For some reason, they don't care about this northern front line, and that is going to be really bad as the South Chinese just move into this whole Vietnamese area right here with really nothing at all to stop them. They're just wilding. And the blue rebellions over here, also, they just get worse and worse. And they realize, eventually China realizes that, hey, of course, the guy known as the Circle Alliance is funding this. And, well, once they realize that, they're like, why did we even join this whole thing anyway? It's just not very good. As another major city is captured. And, well, as you can see, this is not going well. Chinese somehow do make pushes over here in the north, not really focusing on those rebellions for some reason. They make pushes in the north right here. However, they just can't do too much as, once again, their northern rebellions are really preventing them from doing too much. Um, yeah, so for some reason they only focus on this area, and eventually they stop because they realize their country is basically falling apart. Yeah, not very good for them. Murrah said Indian troops would get cut off. Well, they don't want to get cut off, and so they're gonna move around this major city. They're gonna take it, and they're going to look like they're about to do that. But then these guys are just gonna do that, and Indian troops are gonna get cut off, as they all pretty much just die or surrender, as they of course lack the resources that supply them to their own original Indian country. And well, from here, the North Indian country is going to fall down to a front line that looks something like that. Very bad for the North Indians. But this is worse, as we see the Sri Lankans make a landing in this major city and take all of this land right here. That is not good because, well, obviously, nothing's ever good in this timeline. I'll get to the Sri Lankan puppet state. I'll get to that at the end of the video, or maybe, yeah, at the end of the peace treaty, or maybe I'll just do that off camera because they're gonna annex some parts of their country right here, and well, they're also invading this country, and they take it within, it's a very quick amount of time, and well, yeah, it's not very good for them. If we can just make it a different color. What? Oh, I forgot. The whole thing was on. The red team is going to continue to make pushes over here into the yellow country as they take the capital. And, well, of course, it's not going well for this country as they're kind of getting just swarmed through. Of course, that's never to get swarmed. But coming over here to Iberia, we're about to see one of the biggest things happen, and this is going to significantly give an advantage towards the Circle Alliance. And of course, that is a misunderstanding between the Iberians, and it all comes down to a little place called America. So, like I said, militias have been fighting, and eventually, it gets so bad that a general is killed by the red team, and the blue team is like, "What the frick? Why'd you do that?" And the blue team is like, "Okay, well, why? We could settle this right now." And well, these militias don't care, and then another blue team general gets killed, and that is when the blue team and the blue team is just gonna full on declare war on the red team. Yeah, they're not happy. So the blue team starts pushing in towards the red team, but stuff is not going well with the blue team either, as we have a Portuguese rebellion forming in this area, which basically is just a bunch of Portuguese people. They want their independence, rightfully so. They kind of were just taken from humanity, and they don't like that. I wouldn't either. Yeah, the Portuguese rebellion is back, and guess who's back? Back again, the yellow team makes its return as they rebel from the blue team, and also, of course, rebel from parts of the red team, and of course, that like that. And well, yeah, the Catalonians have made a return. The blue teams and the red teams have just been completely annihilated, and they're now trying to annihilate each other, which is probably not a good idea because they're getting annihilated by rebellion. The Sicilians are going to take the chance, and they take both these islands as well as the Balearic or Balearic Islands. I don't really care what they're called. And they also make a landing in Tunis, and that is when the green Algerian country is just going to go ahead and leave the war. They were never really passionate about this anyway, so they're going to go ahead and leave the war. Coming over here to the Swedish front line, a large amount of Norwegian troops have just been encircled, and well, yeah, they disappear. In Norway, they're gonna Sweden's gonna say, maybe you can, survive, and the Norwegians are gonna say no, and well, the Swedish are gonna kind of do that, and then that is when the Norwegians are gonna be like, okay, okay, I'm sorry, and they leave after the yellow team falls. And Sri Lanka is continuing to push into the North Indian Federation and take all their sea access to the Bay of Bengal. They're going to go ahead and surrender. The Chinese leave the war, so do the Southeast Asians, and well, that is that's a very interesting map. Not much has even happened, but I will say the peace treaty is going to be interesting, as well as the things that follow the peace treaty, because this whole war started because of general or not. Well, no, the whole war didn't start because the general got killed. It's the downfall of the parallel governments was because the general got killed, and or two generals got killed in America. And well, America and pretty much Africa, South America, and North America, they all want their independence, and every single colonizer pretty much is going to give them all independence, and they get sorted out in the next episode. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys the peace treaty of the war for fascism. This was not World War III, as it wasn't. I mean, it was a large scale war across the world, but you could call it World War III, but it really wasn't. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it wasn't World War III, and it was just the war for fascism. Anyways, let's take a look at this peace treaty. Well, the first part of it. So first of all, we're going to see the comeback of a familiar face. This, of course, is the Portuguese country. Yeah, they're back, and they're looking interesting. Valdemar. A new familiar face, or not a new familiar face, a just familiar face is back, being that this country right here. So we see, well, another familiar face. It might not be too familiar, but this guy used to exist. They were the Catalonian country. They died in like episode 8 or something like that. And, yeah, I forgot to do capital. So, Portuguese capital, I'm pretty sure you're right there. Your capital, I think, was right there, or maybe, no, it was right here. And then, your capital was right here. So, yeah, those are the new capitals. And now it's time for more of the blue team. Another familiar face is back. This time it's that pink team that used to exist not that long ago. So we see the blue team being transferred into this brown team. Now, The blue team, they don't want the blue team to come back. Rightfully so. What is that? They don't want the blue team to come back. And so it's turned into this. Then this grayish blue country, is the former red team. And then the rest of the blue team land in the Mediterranean is taken up by the, the Sicilians. So the Swedes will get all their former land back over here. Yeah, and they also get Denmark, which was rewarded from them by the Polish. The purple team gets all of no, they get all of that, and that is really good. I mean, look at this team. The pink team will get all of this land back, and yeah, they get all that land back. And I'm gonna have to update the military alliances, the ideology layer. This is gonna be a fun time. So first of all, Sri Lanka is gonna take all of their their puppet state they have. And this is the new thing. This is a puppet state, and that's the new Sri Lankan country. Now it's time looking at in the split of India. And then we see the yellow country up. Well, nope. Where is it? Where is it? Up. It's right here. Yellow country, which used to exist, this is a little bit different borders, but I didn't have how the borders used to before. And this yellow country, it used to exist. It was part. It was the Union, the North Indian Federation. And well, let's go ahead and see the other part. Now the other part was around this color. I'm pretty sure it was a lighter color, so I'll make it lighter. And there we go. So there is a new part of the North Indian Federation. First of all, both of these countries are removed their capitals. So the capital of, first of all, hold on if I can get the right thing. The capital of the green country will be right here, while the capital of this other country, the yellow one, will be right there. And well, yeah, there we go. There is these guys all split up, and yeah. So first of all, let's take off major cities, and now let's get into this. Let's get to the split of the Southeast Asian Union. We can see the first country being released is Vietnam. Then Vietnam, or not Vietnam, the Myanmar country. By the way, they're gonna take this former yellow piece up here because I said so. Yeah, I just didn't like how the yellow country looked, so now it's part of the Myanmar country. Then we see the return of these countries, these three. They are back in, also I forgot, but these guys also own Sumatra. So there we go. And covering all those islands. So there's no parts of the Southeast Asian Union remaining. So, coming over here, we can see that this purple country is back. They also have all these islands over here. Or they don't have all of that. Some of that is owned by the Australians, specifically all of that, as well as all of this and all of that. And well, the rest of this is just gonna go to a new lime country. And by the way, there used to be a lime country right here, but not anymore. Well, yeah, the lime team. There's a new lime team right here. Let's do capitals. So first of all, the capital of Vietnam is gonna go ahead and stay there. Oh yeah, I have to update the rankings too. Okay, I'll do that next thing. Anyways, the capital of the Cambodian country is already there, but we're gonna do this guy, which will be right here. The capital of the purple team will be right here. I'm pretty sure that's what it was before. The blue team right there. This guy here. This guy there. No, there. And then the Myanmar country as far south as they can put it. And yeah, I think that's it. Why is there a brown country right here? I don't know. Get rid of that. And well, that is all. Which I think will be the last one, except for the decolonizing. I'm gonna do the decolonizing in the next video because then we'll have actually something to do. We see this blue country coming back, and that's actually it. For the Chinese peace treaty, that is it for them. So, yeah, their capital is going to be right here. And, well, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this war. I'll see you guys in the next video when we do the decolonizing, and goodbye.